That's why I was so thrilled when I picked up my copy of the Wall Street Journal this morning and saw a fantastic op-ed from Josh Mandel. He's the Ohio State treasurer, where he boldly and aggressively came out in favor of drilling Ohio's Utica shale. Remember, we've heard great things about the Utica formation from Chesapeake Energy, and Hess bought some acres there back in September. Could be one of the largest discoveries in the history of the country. Mandel cites a study which found that the Utica shale could create 200,000 jobs in Ohio, and that's without including all the ancillary service jobs that would now follow. Mandel's a former Marine who served 2 tours in Iraq, which by itself makes him worthy of interviewing as far as I'm concerned. And now he's fighting for jobs here at home and running as a Republican candidate for Senate next year. So let's talk to Josh Mandel. He's the treasurer of the state of Ohio. Find out more just about how critical these jobs are and get to the bottom of this. Welcome, sir, to Mad Money.
Thanks for having me on, Jim.
All right, I got to understand this. We got a fuel that's cleaner. We got a country that needs jobs. We got a fuel that it requires us to do business with countries that we find unsavory, and we've got a way to be able to put millions of people to work. And this is the first time I've seen a politician stand up and say we got to do this. And it's the treasurer of the state of Ohio. What the heck is going on here?
I appreciate it. We call it the win-win-win. This is a new job creation for the state of Ohio. This is affordable energy, bringing costs down for families throughout the state, senior citizens throughout the state, and it's national security. There aren't too many opportunities like that when you could have the win-win-win, and it's happening right here in the heartland, right in the middle of the United States of America. And in the state of Ohio, it's happening in some of the most depressed, economically depressed parts of the state. And we have this great opportunity. About 2 weeks ago, Republic Steel in the Cleveland area announced 450 new manufacturing jobs to support the oil and gas exploration here in the state of Ohio. Meanwhile, back in Washington, we have these bureaucrats who are trying to block the exploration here. We have new jobs on the horizon. We have lower energy costs on the horizon. We're trying to make our contribution here in Ohio to the United States national security, but we have these faceless bureaucrats in Washington standing in our way.
You know, I had the CEO of Dominion Resources on the yesterday, my other show on Squawk on the Street. They're building a gigantic export terminal. What do they want to export? They're exporting the natural gas from Utica shale because they really just basically feel that there's no way that this fuel is going to be, well, let's say used in surface vehicles, that it's that the country's doesn't have an energy policy, so to speak, that makes it happen. What can people do at home watching this show, watching you? What can they do to help make this happen?
You got to call your congressman. You got to call your senators. You got to call the White House. You need to have your voice heard. This is an issue that brings together Republicans, Democrats, and independents. Unfortunately, in America today, there aren't too many of those issues, but this is one of those issues that can put America at a competitive advantage in the global marketplace. It can wean us off of a dependence on foreign oil. It'll improve our national security and its jobs right here in the heartland. And we need citizens, Democrats, Republicans, independents. I don't care where you're from. In the United States, in the state of Ohio, get on the phone, call your congressman. We have a United States senator here, a guy named Sherrod Brown, who just came out earlier this week. He goes on NPR, and he actually backs the Washington bureaucrats and backs the fringe extremists trying to block new jobs in the state of Ohio in the form of exploration of oil and gas. It's ludicrous. People here are outraged, and we're trying to do something about it.
Now, I understand you want to take him on. That's very important to point out. I met him on Morning Joe. I didn't know his view on this, so I mistakenly said, well, you must be so excited about the Utica shale. And he did look at me like I was one of the dumber people of the 310 million people we have in this great country. Do you feel that there is some sort of pressure on politicians from the media, perhaps, from lobbyists, to say, look, this fuel is dangerous? Because I have never seen politicians run from an issue like I've seen them run from this issue.
I think they are receiving a lot of pressure from the far, left-leaning media and also a lot of these fringe extremist groups. But I can tell you that here in the state of Ohio, when you walk into these Appalachian towns along the Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky border, some of the most economically depressed counties in the state, they want it. They can see new jobs. And we have counties in the state of Ohio that the unemployment rate's in double digits. And now, for the first time, these new jobs are popping up in a long time in the manufacturing sector. We have, folks who were really struggling economically, and now they're being able to sell lease their acres at over $4,000 an acre, and they're getting 18% gross on whatever's coming out off the ground. On top of that, Jim, it's important to recognize these jobs aren't just for men and women who are working on the oil and gas rigs. There's a lot of ancillary jobs, second and third order effects to the economy. Folks who are waiters and waitresses, folks who are hotel clerks and maids at hotels, folks who are construction workers, truck drivers. And these are new jobs. If you walk into some of these towns in western Pennsylvania that 5 years ago were ghost towns, today the lady who owns the mom and pop diner owner, she's a millionaire. The guy who owns the hardware store, he owns the whole block. Out in North Dakota, in the Bakken play, I think their unemployment out there is less than 3%. They're paying McDonald's workers.
We were there a couple months ago. You're absolutely right. Josh Mandel's treasurer of Ohio. You know what? You got to keep this cause going. I think that the American people favor it, even if the politicians don't. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jim.
Yep. All right, that's Josh Mandel, as treasurer of Ohio. Look, Utica, third largest fine in the history of the country. And the politicians in Washington don't want it exploited. What do I say? They have money's back into it.